This is a KSPS PBS election special, a debate featuring candidates for state representative from District 3.
Hello, and thank you for joining us. I'm Aaron Luna. We're pleased to bring you this debate featuring the candidates running for the Washington State Representative in District 3, Position 1, a seat formerly held by Marcus Riccelli. District 3 is located in the heart of Spokane, encompassing much of the city's downtown and surrounding neighborhoods. Let me introduce you to the candidates. Natasha Hill is a civil litigation attorney and adjunct professor at Gonzaga Law School. She served as interim editor of the Black Lens newspaper and ran for Congress in 2022. Tony Kiepe is a retired insurance professional and healthcare consultant. He also worked as director of sales at Hollister Steer and owned Rapid Refill, an ink and toner replacement business. Welcome to both of you. For this debate, the candidates will answer questions from two Spokane journalists, Amanda Sellender, a reporter for the Spokane Review, and Brandon Hollingsworth, reporter and host for Spokane Public Radio. Before we begin, a quick look at the debate rules. The panel can ask the same question of both the candidates or can direct just one question to one candidate. The panelists may request a follow-up to an answer. Candidates will have 1 minute for answers and are allowed 2 rebuttals, and that is for the entire debate. Rebuttal length is limited to 30 seconds. Let's begin. A coin flip determined that Tony will take the first question, and that question will come from Brandon.
Thank you, Aaron. As a lawmaker, you would have a dual role, speaking for Spokane, but you also are going to be voting on statewide issues. I'd like to know how you plan to balance these dual roles, being a local advocate, but also a voice in state politics.
Well, one thing you have to do is listen to what the people need, what the people want. You have to listen to what Spokane wants compared to just what the state wants. So they do kind of conflict with each other, but we want to make sure that everybody gets what they need. I'm all for the people. I mean, we have low-income people here in Spokane that are not treated. They need more financial aid, more financial assistance. We have people that are very wealthy. So I'm not for taxing the rich to give to the poor, but I'm for giving a hand up to everybody that needs a hand up. Give them a hand up so they can work like Hollister Steer right in the heart of Hilliard. They can go to work there, have a good job, good paying job. I want to bring good paying jobs here to Spokane. That's what I need to do as a legislator. Make sure that we're all treated fairly, equally, and that we become one community within Spokane and in the state. So a lot of people here in Spokane, they feel different, but we all want to listen to our politicians. The politicians need to listen to the people. Do we feel, I've been out doorbelling. Doorbelling, they'll tell me they don't feel safe in the community.
Tony, time is up. Natasha, same question.
As a legislator, we have a lot of responsibilities both to our constituents here in Spokane, but also statewide. We definitely need to show up and listen to the people at home, though. This is something that I've learned just jumping into politics. It's the best place to get feedback. So I've made it a point to show up throughout this campaign and make sure I listen to folks, whether that's going to our Housing Alliance, whether that's going and hearing people speak to the fentanyl crisis. We know public health and safety and housing are 2 of the biggest issues. There are things that we can do statewide, and as a legislator, the biggest thing we can do is make sure that the resources are coming here. Eastern Washington's grown a lot. We're the 2nd biggest city, and so that means we're going to need more resources. I intend to be a loud voice and a champion over on the west side. We know there's a lot of legislators on the west side, and they're focused on home as well. So as a 3rd LD, we got to work close with our other legislative districts to make sure that Eastern Washington does get the resources it needs and that there's no community left behind.
And Natasha will answer the next question first, and that will come from Amanda.
An important issue to Spokane is housing affordability. Last legislative session, there was a bill limiting the amount landlords can increase rent each year. If elected, would you support this proposal, and how can the state make housing more affordable?
Thank you. I absolutely support this proposal, and I think that we're in good shape to get it passed because this is something we need statewide. This isn't just particular here to Spokane. But I will say that the growth we've seen in our real estate market is unprecedented, and there's not a lot of comparable markets across our nation. So we have to be looking at what we need to do to address the lack of housing, shelter space for those who are homeless and unhoused and can't afford housing. But we also have to look at housing affordability. This is also looking at how can we diversify our market, changing some of the liability around building condominiums, working on legislation around that. People in the middle need to be able to afford homes too, and they've been squeezed a lot. We know when we have a healthy middle class and people can afford homes, we have a stronger economy and a more stable economy that people are willing to invest in. So those are absolutely proposals that I will stand behind. I know that my future seatmate, Tim Ormsby, is also a proponent of that. And the increases are reasonable. What we're saying is don't price people out of the market. We need housing for students to seniors. We know people are on limited and fixed budgets, so we've got to make it work for everyone.
And Tony, you have 1 minute to answer the same question.
Well, one thing we have to look at, why is our housing costing so much? We have a supply and demand issue. We're 1 million homes short in the state of Washington. Just building 30,000 homes will be $59 million in revenue. We need to build more homes. We have to look at, why does it cost 26% more to build a house here in Spokane than it does in Post Falls? Our bureaucracy. We have to look at our bureaucracy. Why are we charging so much? $80,000 more for a house, and you can build the same house just across the line? There's something wrong with that. So we got to look at the bureaucracy to make sure the permitting process go fast and quick. But let's look at let's look at the comprehensive grand plan. Let's look at our local plan. Are we limiting ourselves to what we can build in Spokane by 15-minute cities? Let's build outside the cities. We need density as well as building outside, where we can build more houses for less money. But
Just a quick follow-up with the rent stabilization specifically. How would you vote if that issue came
Oh,
up
I
in the
thought,
legislature?
yeah, I would vote no for that. I mean, we've got to look at the issues that's causing the fair market value to go sky high. Just say no when your electricity costs more, a plumber comes in costs more, when the electrician costs more. So everybody's charging more. So we can't just say to the landlord, you have to charge less or we're going to cap you. You got to watch what everybody's doing.
Thank you.
And we do have a rebuttal request from Natasha. You have 30 seconds.
I think it's really important that we not compare ourselves to other markets that don't respect labor. You know, we're not Idaho because we have labor unions here that protect our workers. And one of the things I intend to do is champion labor. Costs have gone up. We didn't plan well, and so we're behind the curve. That, I think folks know that. So what are we doing now? This is one of the things we can do. Doesn't mean we don't have to do more. And we really need to listen to impacted folks. As somebody who experienced housing insecurity growing up, all through law school, where I found myself unhoused, working as hard as I could, these are just the realities, and it hasn't gotten better. So these are real impacts that we need to address with real policy.
Next question will come from Brandon, and Tony will have you answer this question first.
Regardless of which one of you is elected, you'll be a freshman, and freshmen come in without much power and with no seniority, and we know that even veteran lawmakers don't get their bills passed or passed in the form that they were originally proposed. I would like to know, how would you like to work productively, understanding those limitations, those boundaries around a freshman lawmaker, so that you can still be productive in an initial term in office, knowing that you probably won't get everything that you want?
Well, here in this district, I need 6,000 Democrat votes. If I'm going to win, I need 6,000 votes from Democrats, or the Republican doesn't have a chance. So that's going to send a mandate, hey, you need to work with Tony. Listen to Tony, because he is reasonable. He will work with us. He's going to be on all these different committees. Every committee he can be on, he wants to serve. They know the people sent me there, so they need to listen to me. I mean, I should have some leeway being a freshman, and I'm not going to be there for 10, 20 years like everybody else. We need to have term limits. So we need to keep people from being in politics for the whole life. Let's keep people coming in, get fresh ideas, fresh people. It's the people that's going to elect me. It's everyday people going to elect me. You know, when I'm outdoor belling, you got strong Democrats saying, you sound reasonable, you sound sensible. I'm going to vote for you. I've never voted for a Republican before, but I am voting for you. And when you send a strong message like that, the Republicans and Democrats are going to work with me more.
Tony, thank you. Amanda has our next question, and Natasha will answer first.
One issue at the top of voters' minds, including some local high schoolers we have here today, is public safety. What can the state best do to make sure Spokane is a safe place to live?
You know, there's not one answer to that question, and if it was that simple, I think we'd already be there. What we have is a lot of crises that have gone unaddressed for far too long, and number one we've talked about, which is housing. One of the biggest determinants of public health and safety, social welfare, is housing costs and whether people can afford to be in their homes. because having people unhoused is not just unsafe for the community, it's unsafe for those individuals. There is an increase in property crime, and it doesn't feel good to see people outside, publicly using drugs. The reality is we've had these issues, and if we focus too much in one area, we don't get results. We cannot police and punish our way out of these problems. We have to look upstream. One of the biggest things that we can do is invest in childcare and early childhood education and education K through 12. When we invest in those programs that keep more of our students engaged and involved, it puts them on a different trajectory. We've got to keep families together. We've got to address child abuse and domestic violence. These are all public health and safety factors. These are wraparound services and a multi-layered approach. And those are things I hope to advocate for and stand for and find policy that will be effective. Again, looking to folks who've been impacted.
Your time is coming up. Thank you. And as Amanda mentioned, our next question comes from students from the community school, a project-based high school in West Central Spokane. Here's our first one.
According to the Washington State Department of Health, over 17,000 Washington residents died from a drug overdose from 2007 to 2021. 68% of those deaths involved an opioid. How would you tackle the growing number of opioid deaths?
And Tony, we'll have you respond to this question first.
One thing, we have an open border right now. We've got to stop the fentanyl from coming in. It was $10 a pill not too long ago, and now it's 25 cents a pill, so it's inexpensive for people to buy. We have to enforce our laws, but we have to enforce the streets who's selling our medications, our drugs, to our homeless people, to unhoused people, to our students. They're getting these drugs inexpensively today, and they're overdosing on them. That's a shame. That should never happen. We've got to get help where help is needed. So I guess it's okay for me to look at her up there, but it is a problem, and 17,000 deaths is 17,000 too many. One death is too many. So we've got to address our drugs that's coming into our city, into our state, and block it and stop it by enforcing our laws. Let our police do their job.
Natasha, same question.
Substance abuse is a significant issue. It's not new, though. We've seen this for over a decade, and yes, it's increased, so we have to get a handle on that, especially when we're looking at all the other issues we're having, particularly around housing, cost of living. We know that the treatment that folks are offered here, a lot of times it requires them to go through our criminal justice system. That increases barriers to housing and job opportunities. Again, I don't see an avenue to policing and punishing our way into a healthier and safer community. That's not what our government is here for. That's not what we as legislators are here for. We're here to ensure that our taxpayer dollars go to services that our community needs. Growing up in a community like Hilliard, in the Nevada Lidgerwood neighborhood, you see a lot of substance abuse. It was social programs that helped people in my family get off drugs, families that I grew up with. And so for me, this touches close to home, and we need to listen to impacted folks. We know that 3 weeks isn't enough, a month isn't enough. We need 90 days of patient care, and then we need 6 months to a year of ongoing services to help people stabilize.
Our next question is also from a student at the community school.
My name is Malachi Ramirez. I'm a senior at the community high school. And what should be done about school violence and the access that children have to guns?
Natasha, we will start with you.
We've got to do better. I mean, we have to make sure that we have background checks, that we have waiting periods, that we have even these red flag laws that we know impact families, specifically around domestic violence. There's more that we can do than just pray for the families that are impacted. We have to have proper gun legislation, and Washington State has been leading the way on that, but we need to do more across our country. I will never forget being in 7th grade and the school shooting that occurred in Moses Lake, and it was the first impact. So I've dealt with this in my lifetime, and as a parent of 2 children going to public school, it's something that I'm very concerned with. I worry about my children. And we know we can't just use cell phone technology to access our kids at school. We know that's a distraction, so finding balances there. We also have to support our school districts and understand that their safety at school is paramount. It should be the most important thing. I appreciate and I respect our Second Amendment right to own guns, but we have to look at the technology we have now and balance those interests. And so I think we can have both, but we've got to do more to protect our kids.
Natasha, thank you. Brandon, you have our next question. Tony, you'll be the first to respond.
The governor proposes the budget, and they can make up any recipe they want, but it's up to the legislature to actually bake the cake, to figure out what are we going to spend money on, what we're not going to spend money on, and by how much. Limiting it to perhaps 2 or 3 priority areas, what do you think we should be spending more on and less on if you're the person who's going to be helping set the budget?
I can tell you what we need to be spending more money on is our police. Here in Washington, we're 51. Out of all the states in District of Columbia, we're ranked last for how many police we have per 1,000 people. Are we not funding it right? Are there issues where we can't hire police? I don't know, but we got to look into that. We got to make sure they're rightly funded. But why in Tacoma, Washington, you had 3 police officers did their job, and then there was a trial. They were innocent, and they were called innocent by a jury of their peers. So when this happened, but they lost their jobs, they still can't work in the state of Washington as a police officer. So that should never happen. That should never happen. We have a shortage in police officers right now. We need to get more police officers hired. We need to make sure they're rightly funded and the hands aren't handcuffed to what they need.
Natasha, you have a minute to respond.
What I'm hearing when I'm going around listening to voters, talking to folks on my campaign is housing is most important. That's something that we cannot cut back on and we have to do better. Healthcare is another area where it's just gotten so expensive. If folks aren't healthy and they're not housed, how the heck are they going to get to work? We need a strong economy, we need a strong workforce, and we need to take care of those folks. So childcare is another area where families are bleeding money, and we're seeing a lot of our grandparents, seniors who are supposed to be in retirement, especially the folks who did work hard to save up, and they're at home helping provide childcare to offset those costs for their family members. These are significant areas that when we invest here, we see increases in public health and safety. What we haven't seen is a cut in budgets to police. In fact, we've seen an increase, and it's not just police, right? It's first responders. I think there's this very narrow pigeonhole, and I think this comes back to, who's your donor base and who's supporting your interests to get you elected, and it's really not reflecting what we're hearing from constituents here in the 3rd LD.
I'm sorry.
Real quick question. Tony, you have a rebuttal.
Well, I would say it's not the funding, it's the other issues that we handcuffed our police officers where they can't do their job. So we need to make sure we look at that in the state legislature, make sure they're untied where they can do their job here in Washington, here in Spokane. People want to feel safe in their community. That's what people want. People want to feel safe going downtown. We've got to make sure our police can do their job, do it. Where they train, they got to make split-second decisions. A split-second decision and for life or death. I choose a police officer every time.
Natasha, you want to use a counter rebuttal?
Absolutely. I think we have those same arguments for our healthcare professionals. Those folks need the same protection. They're actually the ones on the front line when we're having folks who are overdosing on fentanyl. They're coming in through the fire department. They're going to our emergency rooms. We have staff and nurses who I've heard from on the campaign trail who are being assaulted and abused. There's so many things we can do. But again, there's not one solution. There's not one answer. And when we have a Spokane police force that's the second, last reported in the Black Lens was the second deadliest police force, it ain't the community. It's the department. We have somebody new in there, and I hope we see some change.
Natasha, thank you. Just as a reminder, that is your second rebuttal, so you are out of rebuttals for this debate. Brandon, you have the next question.
Just a quick follow-up to the budget question. You both outlined things you'd like to see us spend more money on in Washington, but the second half of the question is, what should we cut? What should we be spending less on? I'd like to hear from both of you on that.
Well, to me, we need to fund our public safety. That's the number one issue with the people. We need to fund our infrastructure, our state, roads, they need $1 billion more a year. But once that's funded, everything else is extra. So anything extra we do, once the 2 major ones are funded, is extra money. So what I would give less to, I would want to do accountability. We gave you $10 million last year. What did you do with that $10 million? Was it successful? Well, we're cutting that back next year because it wasn't successful. Oh, that program we gave $10 million to, they come back to us and say, hey, look, this is what we did. This is how we spent your money. Well, we're going to give them $15 million. Give them more money. Give the people that are successful. Look at mental health crisis we have right now. We need programs so we have more mental health professionals. We don't have enough right now. So what can we do to bring people that want to be a mental health professional, to take care of the people in the streets?
Natasha.
This is a tough one. We don't want to cut anything, right? Because we need more of everything. And Tim Ormsby, my future seatmate, he has made it clear, he's in appropriations. Like, this is a huge issue. We have a deficit. We're going to end up cutting something. I think the idea is how much can we keep by trimming things back. And this is where I think when we listen to the folks who are impacted, we can look at where we can create efficiency. Not everything we do is efficient as a government. We know that. There are places where we can tighten up, and we have to. We also need to look at our corporate entities that we've invested in that have brought business here and ask them how they can give back. Instead of just giving back corporate buybacks to shareholders, how can we also incentivize them to give back to their workforce, to help subsidize costs for childcare, to improve their healthcare programs? This isn't, again, a time we should cut back, but how can we work with community partners that we've worked with over the last few decades to ensure that we can build those partnerships going forward? And to the earlier question of how I can do that as a freshman, I've already started on that track. I've got the sole endorsement from my future seatmate, Tim Ormsby, and the relationship with Marcus Riccelli, so we can continue to have a strong third legislative delegation.
Amanda, do you have a question to follow?
Yes, I'd like to ask, this November, voters will go to the polls and partially decide 4 initiatives. One of these initiatives is the proposed repeal of the state's Climate Commitment Act, which caps the amount of carbon the state can emit each year. How will you vote on this initiative, and what can the state do to address climate change?
Tony, let's start with you.
Well, 450,000 people in the state of Washington signed this initiative to get it on the ballot this year. I'm going to vote yes. I support the person that lives on limited income, live on poverty. They can't afford these extra taxes that's doing nothing for climate change and not doing nothing at this time to bring our carbon down. I know that person can't afford an extra 42 cents a gallon for gas. When you're paying that much more for gas, how much more does it cost at your grocery store? You used to go into the grocery store and buy 3 or 4 bags. Now you buy 1 bag for the same amount you bought 3 or 4 bags because costs have gone so high. So by voting yes, that hidden tax goes away. What about organizations that are giving money away, helping citizens here in Spokane with their utilities? They won't be able to do that. There won't be as much money to go around because the utilities are going higher. So they won't have the money to help the people who need. So I'm going to support the people in need.
Natasha, you have 1 minute.
Thank you. I'm voting no for sure, and I encourage voters to take a closer look at this act. We've made a commitment because these climate disasters, whether it's fires or the hurricanes we've been seeing, these cost a lot of money. This is part of our public health and safety issues. It impacts housing that we're going to have to rebuild at a cost that we know has gone up significantly. This act itself, we have no alternative being proposed. It's get rid of it, let's start over. Well, we're too far in and we need to have a solution. There's also some flexibility where we've been looking at how we address, carbon emissions. How do we engage in a market like we've seen in California, and I understand it's up in Quebec, where folks can still be able to do business here without sacrificing. So we've got some solutions for businesses that are willing to work with us. But the folks that just don't want to pay their fair share, I think we're just at a place in the world that we can't continue to give tax breaks to the rich, right? We can't keep incentivizing corporations to come to our state and then tell them that they don't have to pay our workers fairly or protect our workers.
Tony, we'll have you answer the next question, or did you have a rebuttal to that?
I have a rebuttal.
Okay, you have 30 seconds.
I hear continuously, fair share. What is fair share? How much do we have to pay? Corporations aren't paying their fair share. I work a second job at Domino's. Domino's is a corporation. They have 22 stores, 500 employees, and we're telling them they're not paying their fair share in taxes. Look at all those employees they've hired. We can't just turn around and charge more in taxes. Let the Congress, if we need to pay fair share, work with our Congress. That needs to be done in Washington, D.C. That's not a local issue.
That is your second rebuttal, Tony. Thank you. Brandon, your next question, please.
We've talked a little bit earlier in this conversation about the role of a freshman and kind of starting at the bottom of the ladder. And I have a related question to that about how you would plan to work with party leaders. And again, this is understanding. You have your ideas, you have your vision, both of you. You get to Olympia and somebody says, well, that's not our priority. And we're the ones who are the party leaders, be that majority, minority, whatever it may be. How do you plan to work with party leaders?
Sounds like you've been there. It's, you've got to go across with your ideals and say, this comes from the people. This is what the people want. I mean, this is what the people in Spokane want, District 3 want. This is what people in Washington want. They don't want radical ideas. They want common sense, sensibility ideas. This is what comes from everybody. That's what we got to change.
Natasha, you have a minute as well.
All right. One of the things that I plan to do is build those relationships. I've kind of started that process. I've been over to Olympia. I did run for Congress back in 2022. So that's kind of what got my name out there. This is all new to me. I don't have a track record. I have not served in politics before, but what I am doing, I think, is going to be significant enough to get some attention from some of the folks across our state. I'm bringing in new voices. I'm bringing in new voters. I look a little different. I talk a little different. This is a historic race, and I expect that when I get to Olympia, I'm going to have to work really, really hard. This isn't one swoop. This isn't one signature. There's no magic recipe in terms of how we fix all of these problems. It's really about working together and listening to who's already been at the table, what ideas are already out there. I think rent stabilization ordinances that we know are on the table are something that we can absolutely get through. So that's something next session that we can let our constituents know that we're going to work hard and fight for, and it's looking good. We want to be able to give some assurances. So,
our next questions will have a 30-second answer. Amanda, you have a question. We'll have Natasha start.
Sure. How would both of you in Olympia improve healthcare affordability and access?
We know healthcare affordability and access is a huge issue. I think a couple of the things we can do is work with our unions. They're the folks who set the standard for labor and benefits, making sure our workers are protected. We got to work with our healthcare providers. We know Providence, second biggest employer here, and we've seen some cutbacks and attempts to rework things. We've got to be protecting retirements. We've got to be protecting their benefits, especially healthcare, considering they're going to be providing our healthcare. It's kind of what goes around comes around. So some of that is listening to the more senior folks like Tim Ormsby to make sure that we can keep as much as we can.
Tony, 30 seconds.
Well, here we need more competition. Primera has left the Medicare market here in Washington. Pacific Source has left the market here in Washington, but they stayed in Grant County. So when you have carriers leaving the market, we have some plans are no longer offering their plans. You've got to change plans or you find out you won't have health care in January. What I want to see is pick and choose. Why does a 25-year-old need the same health care benefits that a 62-year-old has? They're healthy. They don't see the doctor very much, so why should they be paying the rates of a 60-year-old?
That was going to have to be our last question. Time now for closing statements. Tony, you'll go first. As a reminder, you have 1 minute.
Well, again, I want what you want. Here in Spokane, we want public safety. We want to feel safe in our communities. We want a house over our head. That's very important that everybody has a house. We want good paying jobs, great paying jobs so we can make a good wage. We're not living on our credit cards and spending more and more money every single month. We want to be able to put money aside. We want to put money aside for our kids to go to college. We want to retire with dignity. That's what Democrats and Republicans want. We all want the same thing. We want to feel good with our career, what we did in our lifetime. We want our children to get a step up. And my daughter-in-law, her family is from Michoacan, Mexico. They came here, they had no running water. They had to get 5 gallons of water brought to their house every day. They'll come to the United States, worked their tails off to have a better life. For my daughter-in-law was the first one to graduate from Eastern, went to Othello, Moses Lake, Yakima, and they're very successful today. And she owns her own house, has a good job. So we have to look at everybody.
Tony, thank you. Natasha, 1 minute as well.
First of all, I want to thank you all for having this debate. I want to thank the community school students for being here and participating. It's Indigenous Peoples Day. We're on stolen land, and this country was built with stolen labor, and we need to fix these systems. These things were created before I was born. None of the people here are guilty. There's no blame. Let's work together to fix these things. I want to be a representative with lived experience. I got involved in politics to bring voices to the table and to listen to folks that don't feel that they've been represented for a long time. I want to be a representative where that little girl from Hilliard can see themselves in this position, because to be candid, I never thought I'd be standing here. And if you look at our history, there were laws written that would have prevented me from being here, both as a woman and as a person of color. This is a historic race, and I do intend to be a champion for families and children, for labor, to build a strong economy that's affordable for everyone, that no matter what neighborhood you live in, you can be successful. I hustled my education, and I encourage students to do that, and I encourage us as a legislator to make that more affordable for them to do, so that we can build out this middle class and build a better America.
And that will do it for this debate. Our thanks to each of our candidates, as well as to our journalists, Amanda Sellender and Brandon Hollingsworth. This and other KSPS debates are available for viewing anytime at ksps.org. For all of us at KSPS PBS, thank you for watching.